What's up everyone, it's ENDYMION, and the South Park Into the Panderverse event is likely going to smash records and cause quite a few journalists to clutch their pearls and scream isms and phobes at just about anyone who ends up enjoying the special. There's a lot to go over in this video. I'll speak on the Canadian version of South Park allegedly banning certain episodes from Paramount Plus, and a journalist saying South Park must bend the knee or else. And later on, we got Rachel Zegler herself crying victim and more. There's a lot to go over, so let's get into it. Starting off from crack.com, we have this article titled, Canadian South Park fans want to know why Paramount banned Big Gay Al's Big Gay Boat Ride. This all started from a post on Reddit where a user named Meowcat posted a screenshot wondering why Big Gay Al's episode was missing from the streaming service. As it clearly shows on the app, it just doesn't exist anymore. This immediately made fans on the South Park Reddit wonder what the hell is going on. Apparently, on the American version of Paramount Plus, the episode still exists, but on the Canadian version, it mysteriously doesn't. This doesn't really surprise me all that much since, as a Canadian myself, the government over here has a raging hard-on for everything censorship. And unfortunately, when it comes to things like it, Canada is kind of the beta testing ground for moronic woke nonsense that America will eventually be subjected to a year or so later. So of course this story is nebulous and neither Paramount or the Canadian government will likely respond to it. So now it just leaves the South Park fanbase wondering if their beloved show, which is famous for being uncancelable, could finally be showing cracks in its plot armor. And it also raises another question, which is, why the Big Gay Al episode? That one was actually nominated for an Emmy, and a quick refresher, it's about Stan's dog Sparky running away from home because Stan won't accept Sparky being gay. So Sparky ends up discovering an animal sanctuary in South Park that's run by Big Gay Al, who fosters and takes care of animals rejected by their loved ones for their sexuality. The episode is in no way offensive towards LGBT people either. In fact, it's an episode that normalized the concept well before many first world countries even began to think about legalizing gay marriage. I mean, Big Gay Al even says his iconic line in the episode that it's okay to be gay. And ultimately it ends with Stan accepting that Sparky is still his pet dog, even if he is a little gay. But it's a fun episode, and the creators of South Park challenged audiences when it first came out with the concept, since back in the early 2000s the concept of being gay or whatever was largely frowned upon. So if anything, this episode was all about tolerance and accepting people who are gay, proving that just cause you like a little meat in your buns or want to scissor your friends, it's not that weird and you should be accepted. Sure, the episode makes fun of gay people, but that's South Park. Everyone is subject to getting clowned on, but it's not meant to be mean-spirited. Some fans in the Reddit even spoke out and thought the entire situation is just really weird. One said, as a gay guy, I find this removal more homophobic than the episode. Considering it's a show from the late 1990s and early 2000s and its fourth episode has the message, accept the gay people in your life. I find that badass, considering it took till the 2010s for people to accept most LGBT people. Another said, do they not know a lot of LGBT groups praised the episode back in the day? It was absolutely loved by the gay community. This just seems like a we're protecting you because we know your interests better than you do type of censorship. And another user pretty much summed up Paramount's apparent self-censorship by saying, well, that's gay. Another user claims Butters' very own episode and Cartoon Wars was gone too. But another fan said it's there for them. Of course, one could be Canadian, the other American, so obviously different app versions. So of course, after reading all of this, I decided to investigate further, and it turns out this isn't even the first time this has happened, as 5 other episodes have been removed from the series on Paramount Plus earlier this year too. One of those episodes is a Super Best Friends one, where David Blaine comes to South Park in order to spread Scientology. And the supergroup consists of Jesus, Seaman, and of course the Muslim prophet Muhammad. The episode was removed unsurprisingly because of the Islamic prophet being teased in the episode. And while it got some backlash back then, Paramount has gotten cold feet since, and now it's gone. Then there's episodes like Cartoon Wars Part 1 and 2 that also got banned and removed as well, since yet again it was also supposed to show the Prophet Muhammad. But Comedy Central at the time got so spooked over the backlash that it pushed censorship on the creators of South Park, and now it's gone as well. As well as the episodes 200 and 201 are also banned because of yet again the whole Prophet Muhammad situation. That episode was so heavily censored that you can't even hear Kyle's speech at the end since it's all bleeped out. And Muhammad has a giant black box over them in order to hide how they look. And yeah, as you can see, all the episodes removed already were all tied to the Muslim religion. But it still makes no sense why Big Gay Al is gone, since when compared to those listed, it's nowhere near as bad. But it's still terrible, not only for South Park fans, but the internet in general. If companies can choose to censor and remove content they don't deem politically correct, not only will it limit the amount of content available, it will push a future where free speech is just no longer a thing. And that's what scares me the most, because without free speech, most of your rights are basically null and void. Like South Park, myself and many channels like mine thrive on freedom of expression. It's likely why you watch my content or others to begin with, because at least for me anyway, I don't sugarcoat anything. And that's why I'll just say it how it is. What Paramount Plus is doing here is moronic, pathetic, and gives those who want South Park gone effectively large amounts of power over them. And if you give these censorship weirdos even a little bit of room, they will ban and remove anything that doesn't agree with them. And when it comes to South Park, that could take a show that's existed for well over 20 years now, being reduced to a miserable pile of content that's left if these stupid weirdos end up having their way. There's even idiotic journalists complaining that Into the Panderverse must adhere to the woke agenda. And if it doesn't, South Park should be punished. From Screen Rant, we have this article titled, South Park's shocking new recast breaks a big rule for the first time in the show's 26-year history. According to the writer of this article, Cathal Gunning, South Park's Into the Panderverse shouldn't exist, and goes as far as to say Matt Stone and Trey Parker must not repeat past mistakes. They even claim, of course, without even seeing the episode, that Into the Panderverse will waste its premise because recasting legacy roles with diversity is not a bad thing in their eyes. They compare Panderverse's potential misfire to another episode the writer didn't like called Bored Girls, which is the one where a ripped, juiced out of his mind muscle guy enters a women's competition and absolutely decimates everyone. It was South Park's creators poking fun at the fact that men and women are biologically different, and that men being in female sports will doom the authenticity and fairness of women's sports, but of course Screen Rant doesn't like that. They even said Bored Girls was accused of being transphobic and painfully unfunny. Ironically, given the title of the show's new episode, Bored Girls was a blatant case of the show's creators pandering to reactionary elements of their fanbase by writing cheap jokes at the expense of trans people. But I think many would argue that Bored Girls existing was not to make fun of trans people, but instead it was to shine a light on something that is both a hot topic issue and also very clearly puts women at a disadvantage when it comes to a space they occupy. You see, what Screen Rant is saying here is they want things to be censored or removed as long as it doesn't align with their views perfectly. Anything that makes fun of stuff they hate, like Donald Trump or conservatives, should be applauded and raised up and can exist no problem, because they like it. But make a single joke about something their echo chambers deem heresy, and not only have you kicked a hornet's nest, you've lit the fires to notify these weirdos to descend on you like a swarm. They want South Park censored because it's something they have no power over. They can't control what Matt or Trey say, and that bothers them greatly. Because as long as South Park has the power to champion free speech, the cracks in their ideology and views will remain bare for more people to see. So instead of challenging South Park with, say, their own show that reinforces their views, they instead opt to cry foul and push governments or streaming services like Paramount to do the heavy lifting for them. There's nothing problematic about the Bored Girls episode or the Cartoon Wars or really anything South Park has done. The only problem is that journalists and smooth-brained morons see the world in such a rigid way that they can't fathom connecting or sympathizing with someone who isn't exactly like them in every way. For a group that is often liberal-leaning, these people constantly shout about acceptance, tolerance, and loving those around you. But their actions directly oppose their own tenets, and oftentimes the most unaccepting people who can't tolerate or love those around them are the very liberal weirdos who push these sorts of things. The Panderverse is coming because just like with every other special the creators of South Park make, these things need to be said. When NFTs were a thing, they tackled it. When World of Warcraft was a massively culturally important thing, they did that one too. And I'm sure whatever happens in the future, South Park will find ways to make fun of those things as well, and good for them. Because they should do that. The Panderverse wouldn't exist if the absolute state of media was where it was right now. Just look at the whole Spider-Man 2 controversy going on recently with fans, for example, as proof. People are angry how Insomniac is pandering like crazy only to bend the knee when it comes to selling that game in Middle Eastern markets. There's so much hypocrisy when it comes to entertainment that the only thing that can be done is to confront it head on, instead of sitting idly by hoping things will change while doing nothing about it. My brain doesn't work that way, so I can't sit by and watch the things that I love get contorted to fit the skeleton of these weirdos. Cause if they had their way, South Park would be censored completely and it would just become another puppet that they get to control. Just look at the state of late night talk shows, there's no difference between them. They're just state-mandated yes men who do insanely bizarre things like dance routines with people dressed as vaccines. You want to know how I know things are changing? Just look at Twitter right now. Back during the days of the pandemic, Twitter was a hellhole that was censored to the brim, and you'd be banned for even uttering anything resembling wrong thing. Now Twitter is, well, it's still a hellhole, nothing will really change that, but at least it's not censoring people when they ask the important questions or say things that may not be politically correct, but they're important nonetheless. What places like Screen Rant want and others like them is they want everything to be molded to fit their ideals. And until then, they'll inch ever closer to even the smallest of victories. Like getting an episode or two of South Park banned, but make no mistake, dear viewer, it may be small, but it's a victory nonetheless. And they will not stop till we are all living in pods with our heads shaved with barcodes on our necks, chips in our hands, eating bugs and owning nothing and all thinking the same. And to be frank with you, no thanks, I'm good. I like steak too much and my own personal freedom to ever want to live that way myself. And I'm tired of streaming services like Disney Plus and more doing things like retroactively adding censorship warnings to older episodes. Claiming stuff like what you're about to see is not politically correct, please understand it was from a different time or something. It's just all so lame, and the more this sorts of things happen, the worse it'll get. We don't need to be babied and coddled like toddlers. If you can't take a joke, especially from South Park, you need to get thicker skin in my opinion. Cause if a joke in an animated show is enough to ruin your day or month, I genuinely have no idea how you're able to withstand or deal with your problems in the real world. They're cartoon kids, for Christ's sake, stop being so lame. Finally, I just wanted to end on some tone-deaf Rachel Zegler news, which no doubt was a big inspiration for the Panderverse already. She's now claiming she was only receiving backlash for being outspoken. But again, this is what I've been saying this entire video. Like Screen Rant said with South Park and everything else, these people truly do believe they are invincible to any criticism. And everything should be how they view it as, and the moment they're attacked for their views, they just cry victim and start spewing nonsense. Zegler said, "I have learned the hard way that we have to be fearless and loud in order to be heard, and to prepare for the backlash that occasionally comes with that outspokenness. As always, those who think they're impervious will blame others when their views are challenged. And to show you why stuff like the Panderverse exists, remember that a little while back, Jeremy Renner was going through a very public and awful custody battle over his children, and Zegler decided to say stuff like, 'Can I be the new Hawkeye?' And actually, I think the new Hawkeye should be a trans woman of color to stick it to that racist, sexist, transphobic garbage monster." She ends her little rant with, "And deaf. Proper representation for the incredible deaf, hard of hearing community. A deaf trans woman of color. Yes." You see what I mean? These weirdos will even attack people employed by the same company as them if it means they get a leg up in terms of virtue signaling. And of course, Rachel Zegler thinks Hawkeye should be a deaf trans woman of color, because making a predominantly white legacy character into something that checks boxes is totally not at all being done for brownie points, right? And that's why South Park is doing what must be done. Because these things need to be addressed head on if we want any real meaningful change. And if we allowed people like Zegler to take the wheel, we'd be entering into an actual Panderverse. And I'm sure she's none too happy about it existing either. And the more I keep looking into South Park and the censorship thrown against it, it seems there's actually 18 episodes in total that are banned as of right now. Mind you, these episodes are not necessarily all banned on Paramount Plus. But these episodes are all banned in one way or another in various countries for very different reasons. Some of these episodes range from Rainforest, which depicts Costa Rica as a poverty-stricken nation of snakes and revolutionaries. So Costa Rica banned it from watching it there. Bloody Mary pissed off Catholics for having a vaginal bleeding Mary statue and making fun of the entire religion. Cartman joins NAMBLA, which made fun of an organization of adult men who love children in a creepy way, and it also had a subplot with Kenny trying to make his mom have a miscarriage. Do the Handicapped Go to Hell tackles the idea of whether handicapped people go to heaven or not. And it's eventually revealed that only Mormons go to heaven, so this one pretty much has pissed off everybody. Then there's A Ladder to Heaven, which was banned because it released very close to 9/11 and made fun of the Alan Jackson song released at the time. Then there's Crazy Cripples, when Timmy and Jimmy started a cripple gang in order to spite the now dead Christopher Reeve, who seeks stem cell treatment to save his disabilities, so the Japanese apparently didn't like this episode, so it's banned there. The more I look into it, there's plenty of episodes banned in South Park's past already for various reasons. But not having a reason for Big Gay Al is still stupid in my opinion. And here's a very weird fact for you, but apparently according to Matt Stone, one of the creators of South Park, he was told that the American Marines that captured Saddam Hussein forced the dictator to watch South Park bigger, longer, and uncut, and they forced him to watch him get plowed by Satan over and over before they executed the dictator back in the early 2000s. I don't even know what to say about that, but I thought you'd like to know how the dictator spent his final days. He literally watched South Park over and over until they took him out. That's crazy. And I'll end by saying this. According to reports from YouTuber WDW Pro, the Panderverse is generating around 8 times the amount of interest as the Marvels. And that's about all you need to say to show you just how important and highly anticipated it is. So what do you think about all of this? Is South Park being censored wrong? Is it right? What about Screen Rant's little hissy fit? And how morons like Zegler are living the parody South Park is dunking on? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, subscribe and like the video, thanks to my patrons as always, and have a great day. Use my G Fuel code if you want 20% off your order, and honestly, just thank you for being here. I'll see you in the next one.